Thank you for turning to page 121. Today we're going to take a look at a topic that, if you've been following my Traveler videos for a while, you know is near and dear to my heart. An excellent book from the Independence Games Clement Sector 3rd edition, Skull and Crossbones, Piracy in Clement Sector. Yes, Piracy. I'm dealing with a group of travelers who have gone from merchant to pirate. That game unfortunately keeps getting pushed back because of scheduling conflicts, so it doesn't look like it's going to happen for another couple of weeks. When it does, I'll do a quick recap on the channel and let you know how it goes. But today we're going to take a look at Skull and Crossbones, Piracy in the Clement Sector, and some of the goodies in this book. I want to thank the nice folks from Independence Games for sending this my way to take a look at. We're going to look inside. It's a good book. I really enjoyed it. John Watts writes a really good game book. I enjoy his stuff. There's some pretty good prose in here, too. Nice little open and closed story that goes in here. So today we're going to take a look at this. I'm also making a pitch for subscribers. You guys have been fantastic. You've been responding beautifully. I thank you very much. Everybody who's already subscribed, thank you. Everybody who's been on the fence, come on in. I'm trying to do a push basically to 2,000. I realize that's still a long way away. As with making this video, I'm at around 1,650 subscribers. So we can do it. I know we can. When I say we, of course, I mean you. I have nothing to do with it. But if you could subscribe, that would be fantastic. Also, I have a Patreon going right now. I haven't put any... I did put a reward on the Patreon. I didn't really seem to get much response on it. I'm looking for a new reward. You'd be interested in Patreon. If it's a small personal video, I would upload only to Patreon. Anything else, please let me know. Anything that would entice you to, hey, come on, support the channel. I'd like to upgrade my equipment, and I can use the capital to do that. So please let me know what you think. Any comments or anything like that, go ahead and put them here. You can even put them in Facebook or private message me. It's all good. So today, back to the topic at hand, Skull and Crossbones in Clement Sector 3rd edition. All right, Skull and Crossbones, Piracy in Clement Sector 3rd edition by Independence Games. I love the covers of these Independence Games. I love the elegant simplicity of them. It honestly takes me back to the era of the little black books with the great black background, the artwork, and then the blue binder. I like that a lot. And then we look at the back. Some nice artwork. And then a quick synopsis of what's going on in the book. This is a print on demand from Drive-Thru-RPG. I will include a link to Clement Sector. Wow, that'd be cool. To Independence Games website, where you can buy a PDF of this, or I'll also include a link to Drive-Thru-RPG, where you can pick up the PDF or the print on demand. So let's go ahead and take a look inside this guy. Okay, so we have the author, as I said at the top, John Watts. John writes a nice book. I enjoy John's writing. I find the flow enjoyable. I think he's a very skilled writer. Editor was Curtis Rickman. I have to say, I'm usually picky on some books about typos and such. There are one or two in here, but not anything that I would even care about. Not many at all. I thought this was much better than a couple of other books, both by Independence Games and by other vendors. So we'll take a look at the table of contents. I like the way Independence does their table of contents because, very honestly, their table of contents is also an index. You can find anything out of this like you could out of an index. I like that. I like a nice detailed table of contents in a game book. I find it very important in a game book. In a regular book, no, not so much. Here we start with a nice bit of prose. We've got a young space-going gentleman who's working his lawful job. Maybe he doesn't like it that much, but he's working it. And the ship is attacked by pirates, and the story goes on. Now, the story is neat because it continues through the book and then wraps at the end. So I thought that was a pretty nice touch. I love prose like this. It's good to set the mood for the book, and it sets the mood for everything as far as I'm reading a traveler book, I'm reading a Clement Sector book, I'm reading Cepheus, whatever it is, this establishes the mood very nicely. And now we finish the prose and we go to the history of piracy in Clement Sector. As long as there have been people who've been able to move around in any kind of ship, there have been pirates. There's also been hijackers on land and things like that. There's always someone that's going to want to take something away from someone else. And this does a nice job of going into piracy, and how the different sectors deal with it comes up in just a moment. So we go some more with the history of the piracy. And not all pirates are necessarily bad guys, because pirates, of course, can have letters of marque and things like that, which is a legal license to commit piracy. And I'll go into that a little bit because it's covered very nicely in here. By the way, pretty much what's in this book, if you're running any kind of fantasy role-playing game where you're going to be dealing with pirates, take a look at this, because there's a lot of stuff coming up that could easily apply to any game system that's going to involve piracy. So now we're going to look at the piracy in a lot of the different subsectors. So we got to look at in the hub subsector. Very rich subsector, and has a lot of defenses. So it's not easy to be a pirate in hub. But hub won't go outside their subsector when chasing pirates. Mostly. Sometimes they do. But it's all brought out here very nicely. An interesting thing, too, that I did think of when I first picked this book up, and even before I started reading it, I thought, well, wait, Zim points, which is basically the only way you can jump in the Clement Sector 3rd edition. You can only jump from a Zim point, which is a set hole in space that takes you to another hole in space somewhere else. Those are natural choke points. Those would be lurking places for pirates. And that's one of the things that's brought out very nicely here by John Watts. One of the things I like about Zim space is it's a little more confined. Space is huge, and I like the confinement that these Zim points kind of inflict on the space in Clement Sector, 3rd edition. Piracy in Cascadia subsector. You want to see how that government's dealing with it. It's right here. Piracy in the Franklin subsector. So you're getting a picture here. Speaking of pictures, I really like that artwork. That is just so nice. And then we take a look at piracy in the Sequoia subsector. So we keep going. Piracy on the frontier. Let's face it, pirates prey mostly in the frontier, and this is where the bulk of your piracy is going to be. However, that doesn't mean there can't be piracy in the other subsectors, because you can always duck into that Zim point and out you go. So just some interesting perspectives on where you can be a successful pirate and where it's not going to be so good for you. And then we come to more of the prose. This would have made it's a very long short story, really. I enjoyed it. There's a look at our evil lady pirate leader. I kind of like that character too. Okay, pirate strategy and tactics. What are you trying to achieve? What are you going to do? So, first and foremost is you lie in wait. You catch a merchantman within the range of your guns. Hopefully he doesn't have any guns, or if he does, he's outgunned. And then you're maybe going to try a boarding action. Boarding action can take you aboard the ship, and you can be there to steal cargo. You can be there to steal passengers. There are a few adult themes addressed in this book that I'm not really going to go to in the video. It's nothing overt, but it is a little more than I usually serve up on my channel. But it's part of piracy. And then we have the idea of moles. You know this vessel makes this run on X date at X time. They're going to be approaching this Zim point at X time, or exiting a Zim point at this time. So you put some moles aboard as passengers. Passengers are problematic in any kind of space game. They might be there to mess with you. I've done recent videos on passengers and on shipboard security. But moles can be a real problem if they're working with these spacejackers to take your ship, your stuff, and maybe even you. Cargo theft. Maybe they just want the cargo. Maybe you can get away if you just jettison the cargo and then just drive away. They may let you go. Ship theft. Maybe they don't care about your cargo. Maybe they want your ship, or maybe, most likely, they want both. If this is the case, the ship theft, they're not necessarily going to care if you have a loaded hull or hold or not. They're going to want the vessel itself. Any kind of cargo they hit would just be gravy. Commerce raiding. Okay, you're going to commerce raid. There are two systems that are maybe at war with each other, or maybe it's a cold war. You can then sign on with one side or the other to be a commerce raider. You can raid their shipping to disrupt things, cause domestic problems at home, price increases, etc. And then there's marauding. Marauding is defined in this book as basically attacking a base or a colony where you are going to either get supplies or people or both. So marauding is one of the more heinous things because a lot of times it's a smash and grab that does a lot of damage to a struggling colony's infrastructure, and the colony probably is not really going to do too well with that. Maybe not even survive it. Now we go to Pirate Havens. This is actually one of the things I was excited about when I saw the theme of this book, because in my current Traveler game, I'm going to have people turning pirate, and it made me think about Pirate Havens. And this book gives me a nice layout. Now, my game at the moment is not set in Clement sector, but I can easily pull these and just put them anywhere I want. So we got a number of pirate havens, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We get 6 pirate havens and then a pirate route. So that's pretty neat. And this can be lifted and put pretty much anywhere you want it in your space game. If you're playing Space Opera, if you're playing Star Frontiers, this stuff will all apply. Now we go to famous pirates and pirate bands. I enjoyed this because this is not something I had really thought about, that there would actually be some guys that are, the kind of the Bonnie and Clyde, gaining a little folklore love just from being these rebellious outlaw rogues and maybe seen as being a little more glamorous than they are. And we have several here. The Skull is a successful pirate. Calliope Jones, I love that name. One of my favorite Bugs Bunny villains is Giovanni Jones. He's the opera singer in What's Opera, Doc? I've always enjoyed that kind of name. I like the artwork. I like having a depiction of who these guys are. So we go through several of these guys. The inspiration in here is just tremendous. There's even a group of uplifted apes, the free apes of Leonidas. And they're a group of uplifted gorillas, chimpanzees, and orangutans come together to form a pirate band. And generally, if you're an uplifted animal, they're not going to mess with you. They'll let you go. I like that. It's something I hadn't really considered about. Okay. Pirate life. All right. Not too long ago, we had Talk Like a Pirate Day. Arr. Well, here you go. Here's a place where you have to talk like a pirate. It's the pirate life. This goes into detail on being aboard ship and then your pirate code. The code. More of a guideline, actually. If anybody's seen Pirates of the Caribbean, the first one, yeah, there you go. There's the code. And it makes it clear, yes, this is the code, but it is more of a guideline. And the code goes into several things. Pirates don't go to war with other pirates. All disagreements between pirates are to be settled by negotiation first. If negotiations fail, only then may violence be used to settle the disagreement. And number 3, pirates do not steal from other pirates. Again, these are guidelines, not hard and fast rules. Then we have the Pirate Haven Codes, what you can and cannot do in a haven. Basically, aboard ship, the idea is that you're not going to get drunk out of your mind or using illicit chemicals to do anything that might disrupt the activity of the ship. The idea that there's no drinking aboard is laughable, but they don't want you getting so wasted that you can't do your function in an emergency. Bad things happen if that happens to you, by the way. So there's some of the Pirate Haven codes, and a lot of that can carry over to the ship as well. And then here's the Articles of Agreement when you come into the haven. And then we have an interesting thing here, no prey, no pay. If you don't take part in settling the ship that you're pirating, you don't get paid. Whether it's through circumstance, you just were at the wrong airlock and never got through and you weren't able to partake in the actual boarding, too bad. We don't care that you were out in the spacesuit for 5 hours trying to get in the thing. Not interested, you didn't take part of the actual attack, you don't get paid. I thought that was pretty cool. We had a nice breakdown of shares, percentage of payment, but based on your rank. Captain gets 10%, first officer 8, chiefs 6, the doctor 5, boarders and gunners 3, and then everybody else gets 2%. But again, you have to be an active part of it. I can't really picture a lot of scenarios where somebody wouldn't get it, but this is a great control on somebody who wants to slack or is just afraid of getting injured in a boarding, so they stay back. The pirate culture. We get a nice look at the pirate culture, and it's not really one that I think many people would actually want to be part of, despite the romanticism that's popped up around piracy. This is a tough way to make your life. Then we get pirate justice. So what do they do with the captured crews? Again, a little more adult theme here. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. Nothing graphic, by the way. I don't want to mislead on that. It's simply that we don't have anything like that at my table as far as killing, quote, innocents, unquote, things like that. It's stuff I avoid in role-playing because, frankly, that's not why I role-play. And my players have all agreed. So we just, even without alignments being existent in the game, we still adhere to a standard moral code anyway. I know that's not how a lot of games are played, and I understand that, but that's generally what we do. So we go to pirate traditions. Maybe there's a patch that you wear when you've taken your 10th vessel, or maybe you are a privateer and you're going against some other unit and you take one of their patches and wear it as a badge of honor. More great artwork. And then we go to pirate ships. We get a nice look at a couple of pirate ships. These are ships that work really well in pirate operations. I always love getting ships in a book. Here's the Demon class Pirate Lembas. And a nice look at it too with that beautiful artwork and nice deck plans. I love top-down deck plans. And then we've got, if you want to attack a colony or a station, you're going to want this big guy, the Iron Bard. It's a sleek, streamlined 600-ton displacement vessel. And there we have it. And there's all the stats for it and a nice graphic of it, beautiful picture of it, and then top-down decks. I love the idea of a pirate longship. Yarr. All right. Just some nice mood music right there. Anti-piracy efforts. So what do? You're out there being a legal merchant. What do you do about pirates? Well, one thing is self-defense. A lot of people in the Clement sector have adapted self-defense. It's legal to arm your merchant vessel to protect against pirates. Unfortunately, this has led a few merchants to become pirates because they had the weapons, they're down on their luck. Letters of marque. A letter of marque is a government license issued to a system government which allows a holder to legally attack and capture ships and their crews, specifically of another government. It's usually very limited. These were very common in the age of sail. And it's technically referred to as a letter of marque and reprisal. And so if the English and the Spanish were loggerheads for whatever, they could issue letters of marque, the English against the Spanish and vice versa. And that would let the English ship prey on any Spanish vessel he saw. But if he saw vessels of other flags and he took those, then he was a pirate. He has no legal ability to do that. Then we talk about prize court. I love prize court. Prize court is basically you've captured the ship, you turn it in, and you want a salvage cost on it. So prize court may take a look at it, or maybe you're turning it to another pirate and he's going to give you a percentage of the money. And then harsh punishments. What happens when you catch a pirate? The answer is almost always execution. I can't see a lot of worlds, unless they're in cahoots with the pirates, that are going to just incarcerate these guys. It says here incarceration can be 50 years, but keep in mind, in Clement sector, you usually have elongated lifespans. So while 50 years is a very long time, it's not all of your life. It's not a life sentence. There we go. A guy who is caught being a pirate. And now he has some pirate gear. So things to help you get along there. Assaying hardware, which lets you kind of get into the ship, hack it a little bit. False transponder, also known as a liar's box. I love that name, by the way, liar's box. Magnetic grapple lines to grapple the other ship. A med bag, you're going to need it. Plasma torches to cut through the hatches or hull if you have to. And this was interesting, a Starship hollow mask. It allows the vessel to appear to the naked eye or to visual sensors that it's a different ship. It costs you 350,000 credits, but it's kind of a neat idea. Against sensors, it's kind of neat that it works, but there would be other ways to penetrate it, but I think the idea is pretty good. And now we go to a boarding suit, working at tech level 11 and 12 on that. And then, of course, a parrot drone. I kind of like this guy. He sits on your shoulder until he's activated, and then he can fly off and be a remote scout for you, but he can fight with a melee skill of 2 and does 1 die 3 damage, plus 3 per attack. So I thought that was kind of neat. And here we have the wrap up to our pros. Then before we're out of the book, we get adventure seeds for pirates. So pretty nice adventure seeds in here. Any of these can really add to different games. Again, the great artwork gives you the real flavor of the book. Non-pirate things. So how are you interacting if you're not a pirate? And then just random encounter tables defines what they mean by this ship, and they're the tables themselves. So coming through, now we're into the last of the tables, the legalese, and we're out. Very nicely done. Very well put together, well thought out book. I appreciated this book a lot. When John Watts writes a book, you can tell that he's done a lot of research on it and that he has developed some ideas. And there's always a couple of unique ideas in these books, which is one of the reasons I get excited about reading John's stuff. So I recommend it. I really do. I will put links to both the Independence Games website and Drive-Thru-RPG, depending on how you want to acquire the book. That's up to you. The print on demand for this guy is $29.99, which is a very reasonable price. Very nice binding on the book. It's just very durable book. I've spent the last several days reading this book, and you can't even tell that I ever even opened it. So that's it for today on page 121. I hope you liked what you heard and saw. If you did, please like and subscribe. Again, I'm trying to grow the channel. That magic number of 2,000 is not that far away, so maybe we can get there. So that's it for today. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you next time on page 121.